So friends, now after completing the series of lectures on measures of central tendency, it's a time to move on towards measures of dispersion. So again, I will take these measures of dispersion in two lecture. So the first part is I am going to discuss today. So first, I want to summarize or just to recall. We have already seen that data presentation or numerically data can be presented and such presentation is known as descriptive statistics. And these descriptive statistics include four measures. So one is measures of central tendency, we have already covered. Second one is the measure of variability, or it is also called as measures of dispersion. Then third one is the measures of shape of distribution, and fourth measures of relative position. So these are the basic data presentation method, numerical method of data presentation. Now the next is this you can see this I have already shown you in the previous lectures also. This the measure of central tendency, measures of dispersion, measures of shape of distribution, measure of relative position. So here you can see this measures of dispersion is basically broadly divided into two parts. First one is the absolute measure and second one is the relative measures. So before we actually go to the dispersion, we want to know why this dispersion is necessary to know. Why we want to know the dispersion of a particular data series? Because we have already seen that in measures of central tendency, what measures of central tendency is telling that data try to accumulate itself towards central value, and such tendency of accumulation of data towards central value is called as measures of central tendency. Whereas measures of dispersion tells that in some way data is spread around that central value, and how this data is spread around that particular central value is called as measures of dispersion. So now if you see the definition, dispersion can be defined as the spread of observation. Spread of observation. Spread around what? The spread of observation in relation to measures of central tendency. This is very important point. This is the spread of observation is in relation to measures of central tendency. Many a times people are getting confused that it is the spread of observation around mean. No, it is not around mean, but it is the spread around measures of central tendency, any measures of central tendency, be it mean, median, mode, or whatever the measures of central tendency that we have already studied. In other words, the measures of dispersion can be said as the degree of scatter of the individual observation around mean. Now, since mean is the most common measures of central tendency, that is why very commonly we used to say that it is the degree of scatteredness of data around mean. But it is not only mean, it is measures of central tendency. Now, I have already told you that this measures of dispersion is broadly divided into two parts, absolute measures and relative measures. So now before going to these absolute and relative measures, look at these three data series. Data series A, B and C. If you see this data series, the mean of this data series A is 7, mean of data series B is again 7 and mean of data series C is again 7. So all these three data series having mean 7. So if simply we are seeing the mean of these three data series, we will not get any idea how these three series are different with each other. But if you see the data individually of each series, these three series are entirely different from each other. But if you will see the mean is same, 7. So to get the differences between these three data series, we use the measures of dispersion. We want to know how data is dispersed or scattered around a particular measures of central tendency, be it mean, median or mode. So with this backdrop, we'll go to the different kind of measures of dispersion. So first one is absolute measures of dispersion. When the variation of a series is expressed in the unit of measurement of original observation, when the variation is expressed in the unit of measurement of original observation, then such type of measure is known as absolute dispersion, absolute measures of dispersion. That means the variation is being expressed in the same unit as we were measuring the observation. The absolute measure of dispersion can be compared with each other only if they belong to the same population. The only problem is that these absolute measures can be compared for the data which are being taken from same population. If the data has come from different population, the data have come from a different population, we cannot compare those two data. So this absolute measure of dispersion, the condition is that the unit of measurement of variation is same as of the unit of measurement of the original observation. I think it is clear to you. Now, what are the different types of absolute measures of dispersion? So these are the 7 different absolute measures of dispersion. The first one is range, interquartile range, quartile deviation, also known as semi-interquartile range, then absolute mean deviation, variance, standard deviation, standard error. So these are the 7 measures of absolute measures of dispersion. In this absolute mean deviation, variance, standard deviation and standard error are very important. Range, interquartile range, quartile deviation, these 3 observations, we should know the name of this measures, then we should know the formula, and sometime you will get some question in objective type question related to these 3 measures. So in the variance, I have purposefully put an asterisk mark. So what it indicates, the variance is not strictly included in measures of absolute dispersion. Why? When I am telling that absolute measure of dispersion means the unit of measurement of variance is equal to the unit of measurement of original observation. But if you see the variance, the unit of variance is a square of the unit of the measurement of original observation. So actually this variance is not absolute measure of dispersion, because here the unit is squared. So to overcome this, the variance, if we are taking under root of the variance, then it will be converted into standard deviation, and this standard deviation is coming in the absolute measures of dispersion. So hopefully, why this variance is not absolute measure of dispersion, And why standard deviation is absolute measure of dispersion is very clear to you. Now, the second one is the relative measures of dispersion. So, if the measure of dispersion is in form of percentage or ratio of the average, it is called as relative dispersion. So, when it is in the form of percentage or ratio, it is called as relative measures of dispersion. It is also known as coefficient of dispersion. So, these are the terms that you should take care for your objective examination. Then, this measure is suitable for comparison of two or more series expressed in different units of measurement. So, what was the drawback for absolute measure of dispersion? That is merit of relative measures of dispersion. So, this is suitable for comparison when we have taken data from two different populations, or the two different data is following different units. Then also we can compare, because here we are measuring the variance in form of percentage or ratio. Now, what are the various relative measures of dispersion? So, first one is coefficient of range, then coefficient of quartile deviation, coefficient of mean deviation, coefficient of variation. So, these are the four measures: coefficient of range, coefficient of quartile deviation, coefficient of mean deviation, and coefficient of variation. So, this coefficient of variation is very important, and this is very most commonly used relative measures of dispersion. Now, we will see one by one about absolute measures of dispersion. The first one among absolute measures of dispersion is range. So, what is range? Range is the difference between the largest and smallest value of variable in a series. So, in fact, range is equal to largest minus smallest value, L minus S. Suppose you are having grouped data. So, how you will find range? So, range will be the upper limit of the highest class and lower limit of the smallest class. Upper limit of the highest class minus lower limit of the smallest class. Whatever value you are getting, that is called as range. So, here this in a simple non-group data, you can see data you have arranged in ascending order from 10 to 65, and the range will be the maximum value minus minimum value, that is 65 minus 10 is equal to 55. So, this is about the range. Now, what are the merits of range? So, range, it is very easy to estimate. Now, one interesting point I want to discuss here is that at the beginning, with mean, people were happy that okay, a single value will represent my whole population, and if I will tell a person about this single value, person will get idea, okay, the average milk production of this farm is 20 liter. But then requirement changed or requirement increased. Now somebody want to know, okay, your milk production average is 5 liter, but how this 5 liter is distributed, whether few animals are producing 100 liter milk and most of other animals are producing very meager amount of milk. So people are interested to know how the data are distributed. So in that series, the first one was the range. So at least with the range, you know the minimum and maximum value of a series of data. So the only merit of this range was that it is very easy to calculate. It can be calculated very easily and it can be understood very easily. And there were many demerits. What were those demerits? it is affected by sampling fluctuation. So suppose if sample has not been taken properly, then the value will be changed. Then it is influenced by extreme value, because range is greatly influenced by extreme value, because we are taking the difference of the extreme value, maximum minus minimum. Then third one, it is determined only by extreme value, already we have discussed. Then the range of symmetrical and asymmetrical distribution can be identical if extreme value of both are same. So suppose you are having two different data set, one is symmetrical and another one is asymmetrical. Even if these two data set is having equal lowest and highest value for both the data set, then the range will be same. So these were the flaw that were encountered with the range. So looking into that, this people were looking for some other measures so that they can get a great idea, or they can know the spread of data in greater detail. So for that, the next measures come. Before that, we just want to see the usage of range. So what are the usage of range? The range has very limited usefulness. The only use that has been written here, it is used in certain industrial works in the field of quality control to maintain the quality of manufactured goods. Suppose a factory is there and certain goods are being produced. So the factory owner will fix certain criteria or range of that means this much range of this quality, this much range of quality should be produced. So in that case, the range will be used. So this is the use of range. Now another measures is interquartile range. So this interquartile range also, this is also you should know the name, and you should know that it is coming under the absolute measures of dispersion. So before going to interquartile range, we should know what is quartile. So whatever data you have obtained, you just arrange the data in ascending order or descending order, and then divide the data into 4 equal parts, and each part will be known as quartile. So first of all, you arrange data in increasing order or decreasing order. You may arrange in decreasing order also. So these are the quartiles, quartile 1, 2, 3, and the difference between Q3 minus Q1, Q3 and Q1, difference between Q3 and Q1 is called as interquartile range. So just see, previously in case of range, you were knowing only this smallest and largest value, but now what you are knowing the Q3 and Q1 and the difference between Q3 and Q1. So this interquartile range will give more insight of the data, how the data is spread. Now next, further, this quartile are those values that divide the arrayed observation in a series into 4 equal parts. So interquartile range is equal to Q3 minus Q1. It is better than range as it is not affected by the value of extreme item. In fact, 50% of the given observation lie between the two quartiles. So this is also a fact. You should remember that 50% of the given observation lie between the two quartiles. So these are the two quartiles. So 50% of the value lie between the two quartiles. Suppose these are the two quartiles, then 50% of the value lies between these two quartiles. So okay. Now the next one is the semi-interquartile range or quartile deviation. So the definition, formula of quartile deviation is Q3 minus Q1, that is quartile divided by 2. Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2 for a symmetrical distribution. Now it is telling that for a symmetrical distribution, the value of quartile deviation when added to Q1, when value of quartile deviation when added to Q1 or subtracted from Q3 is equal to median. So when, well, for a symmetrical distribution, it is a fact that for a symmetrical distribution, when quartile deviation is added to Q1 or it is subtracted from Q3, it will be equal to median. So in other words, it can be presented as median minus Q1 is equal to Q3 minus median. So this is the fact about the semi-interquartile range or quartile deviation. The mean plus quartile deviation include exactly 50% of the total observation for the obvious reason that we have already discussed in the quartile deviation also. So these three measures were just we should remember the name of these three measures. The actual measure, the fourth one is the absolute mean deviation. From here, actually, this absolute mean deviation or this measures of dispersion starts. So what is measures of dispersion? Absolute mean of deviation. The absolute mean deviation is defined as the arithmetic mean of absolute deviation. Arithmetic mean, just carefully listen each of the words that I am telling. It is defined as the arithmetic mean of absolute deviation. Arithmetic mean of absolute deviations ignoring signs of various items from a measures of central tendency. So this is very important what we are telling. It is defined as the arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean of what? Arithmetic mean of absolute deviation. Absolute deviation when you are ignoring the sign. And deviation from where? So it is the absolute deviation from a measures of central tendency. So whatever measures of central tendency you are taking, it is the deviation from that measures of central tendency ignoring the signs. So this is called as absolute mean deviation. If you will see the formula, it will be more clearer to you. The arithmetic mean is, however, more commonly used in calculating the value of mean deviation. Therefore, it is most frequently used as mean deviation. So many a times, I have already discussed this thing earlier also. Many a times the measure of central tendency is actually arithmetic mean. So that is why this absolute mean deviation is also known as mean deviation. And it is also referred to as first moment of dispersion. This you have to remember because this will be asked in your examination. What is the first moment of dispersion? So absolute mean deviation is the first moment of dispersion. This is very important question. You will see this question in your annual board examination or even in many of the competitive examinations. Now coming to the computational formula. So this is the formula. You see, we have already discussed absolute mean deviation is equal to the sum of what? Sum of the absolute mean deviation. Sum of the absolute deviation from the measures of central tendency, that is mean. So here you can see that each observation is being deviated from the mean. So x minus x bar under bracket, and these two solid lines, they are telling that these are the absolute value. Absolute means you don't have to consider the sign. So signs are ignored, and this will be summed upon and divided by total number of observations. So this is the absolute mean deviation formula for absolute mean deviation. So when in practical classes you will put the values in this formula and you will get the result, then the concept about the absolute mean deviation will be more clear. So what is absolute mean deviation? It is the deviation, each and every observation should be deviated from the mean, arithmetic mean or any measures of central tendency, and ignoring the signs. Suppose sometimes this x will be lower than mean, then it will be negative, but you have to ignore the sign. and then this will be summed up and divided by total number of observations. Similarly, the same formula will be for group data, but instead of this in group data you will take the mid value of the class and frequency of the that particular class. So this is the formula of absolute mean deviation. Now if the mean deviation is small, suppose the mean deviation is small, then the distribution is highly compact. So suppose absolute mean deviation AMD, what you calculated absolute mean deviation for a particular data series and you find that it is very smaller value. That means your data is more uniform and more than 50% of the item are concentrated within a small range around mean. So if you are getting very small absolute mean deviation, then your data is very compact, it is uniform, and more than 50% of the items are concentrated within a small range around mean. So this is the usefulness of absolute mean deviation. You can know the spread of the data, or you can compare the spread of two different data set. Now what are the merits of absolute mean deviation? So it is rigidly defined, it is having very concrete formula. It is based on all the observations. So when you will calculate absolute mean deviation, you will see all the observations are being used, whereas in case of range in case of range or quartile deviation or interquartile range, you will not use all the observation. It is less affected by extreme value because it is not only depending on the extreme values. It is also flexible because it can be calculated from any measures of central tendency. It is not necessary that always you should know the mean or median or mode. Any of the measures of central tendency can be used, and it is simple to calculate. So these are the merits for absolute mean deviation. Now what are the demerits? So it is not capable of further algebraic treatment. So you cannot, there are many measures of dispersion which can be used for further algebraic treatment, further calculation you can perform on those measures, but absolute mean deviation you cannot go for further algebraic treatment. It cannot be calculated in open-ended class. So this is also a demerit. In open-ended class you cannot calculate the absolute mean deviation. Then it is not very accurate measures of dispersion. So obviously there are many other measures which are more accurate. So this absolute mean deviation is not that much accurate as of the variance or standard deviation. So these were the demerits of absolute mean deviation. So with this I am finishing the absolute mean deviation and the fourth measures of dispersion, absolute measures of dispersion. In the next lecture I will be covering the remaining absolute measures of dispersion and also the relative measures of dispersion, and then we will be finishing the measures of dispersion. Thank you.